So, good morning, guys. We're live September 18th, another show. Happy Friday, Rolland Market Mashup. And yeah, yesterday, definitely an interesting day. Market was kind of all over the place. Dad, you made a good point. If you take technology out of the equation yesterday, there were some signs of light in the market. Obviously, we've talked about Ford a few times on this show. They're finally back to where they were when we first started talking about them, which is over 435. And this morning they look to continue those gains. I guess they maybe are starting to be looked at as more of an electric vehicle company and had some positive things to say and continue to fly under the radar. Any comments on Ford?
Yeah, I noticed on CNBC they actually put Ford out to the couple of the analysts. One guy hated it and the other guy liked it. So it continues to get controversy on whether it's a good buy or not. I think some people, because when they look back, they see a stock that's done nothing over a decade and are pretty negative on it. But there's always a time, and now might be it.
Yeah. And a lot of upgrades and downgrades this morning. I don't know if that's just the nature of the beast on the middle of a Friday in September, but I saw, first off, to start with Dave & Buster's, because we brought them up yesterday when they said that they might go bankrupt. It wasn't them that said that. Somebody said that, and the stock fell as much as like 30% yesterday, got all the way down to like 13 at one point. This morning it's bouncing back. It got several upgrades of analysts saying investors overreacted and they're not going to go bankrupt, and that's going to be an interesting stock to follow.
Well, I think that they have some loans, and the banks have to make a decision on whether or not they're going to, give them more money, I think. And if they say no, they go bankrupt. It's that kind of situation.
And that's where I just have a tough time believing that they're not going to figure it out. It seems like companies of that size, when they're in those situations,
sometimes, though, it's better to go bankrupt, get rid of your creditors, reorganize, stock's worthless, and you start over. And, there's been a number of companies that have done that. So it is possible they stay in business and the stock is worth zero.
Well, that'll be an interesting thing to watch, no doubt about it. And then, obviously, Penn, another massive move yesterday. They launched their sports betting app today in Pennsylvania, kind of a soft launch for them. That's going to be an interesting thing to follow. Last night, Dad, I know I texted you about this.
Yeah.
I was reading some things on Reddit of people kind of complaining about the sign-up process, saying that it was almost shady how much information you needed to put if you were a user. And I think it was kind of a reminder to me that, that there's going to be some bumps in the road for the rollout of a new sports betting app. Not only are there tons of regulations that are going to be ever changing, kind of like in the weed space at the beginning and all the different markets, but you got users that are used to using these different platforms. It's not going to be a walk in the park for Penn. I think their stocks run up a lot leading up to this. And
yeah. I sold 100 when you sent me that text just to get my feet wet with starting a short. I'm thinking in my head, every 50 cents up, I might short just to see if I can figure this out on the downside. And I might get taken out when it goes to 80.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's way overbought.
Yeah, them and DraftKings have really gone into straight up parabolic mode after having.
Those are going to sell off like crazy. Just wait for it. All this, there's a lot of fluff in those stocks right now with people that have no idea what they're even in, that have just had FOMO effect, legitimately, that jumped on those trains. That they're great stocks long term, but not here, not now.
Even Kramer said that it's ahead of itself last night.
Way ahead of itself. It's as though they cloned every league, where there's all this action going on that doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Kramer's hilarious because in the morning, he's like, the stock isn't up enough. And then after the market closes, he's like, it's run up too much for my liking.
If I'm Portnoy, I'm just cashing out and running for the hills, going in the sunset at this point. I mean,
I don't think he can.
well, as soon as he can. This thing is just, it was at $4 in March. That's where I should have just had every cent in my life thrown into this
Yeah,
thing.
why didn't you do that, Mike?
I don't know.
Hindsight.
Driving me nuts, Captain Hindsight, Bob.
Yeah. And Mike, I mean, I'm sure you'll be all over this. Beyond Meat got a downgrade from JP Morgan this morning. I don't know.
Perfect.
They've run up a lot.
Whoever's this guy downgrading them, just keep doing it so I can make more money. I'd love to take this guy to dinner.
Well, this guy went from a neutral to an underweight. So
Has he ever had alternative meat, or is he just a huge pork guy?
I don't know.
Like, I just wonder, like, what goes into that train of thought with a downgrade on something before it even
But
hits.
again, that's enough time on Beyond Meat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Tesla got an upgrade this morning to 515 from Piper Sandler.
See, that's where I like downgrading it. Like these upgrade, I almost see this and I'm like the opposite naturally comes to mind. Because I feel like people are like triggered to see that, a headline, and then jump into it. Unless you're paying for a subscription like Kramer's thing, where there's a barrier to entry.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I was with our friends down in South Denver a couple of nights ago, and the guy is buying a Tesla. I would have never thought that from Gary. Gary might even be listening, but Gary to me is, a truck guy.
Gary Tashman?
No, not Gary Tashman.
I'm telling you, the Teslas are hot.
I saw so many Teslas yesterday when I was on a run, even down on the west side. I must have seen just naturally, they stand out like crazy. When you're walking, running, Teslas, it's like a celebrity. I didn't even say on air. I told you guys one off. Dad, I didn't tell you this. I ran into Lawrence Fishburne, the guy from Matrix. He gave me the nod when I was running the other day. He was like, this guy's a nut job. I was running the other way in the bike lane, and I just happened to be pulling up when he was biking by. I told Dan, great omen for Lodell, when the head of the Matrix is giving you the nod.
Isn't he also from Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, he's from a lot of movies.
Pulp Fiction.
Wasn't he in that?
Oh, no, Dad, that's no.
You're thinking of Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, those two are not even comparable.
He's like in all the Quentin Tarantino movies, Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, I mean, look, and then, Tesla cars are obviously popular. People want them.
Well, they just look like they just stand out in a unique way. Like they just are phenomenal.
That's enough of Tesla.
And more upgrades. They got several upgrades this morning, but more on the upgrade train. Apple also got an upgrade, I think, yesterday, which is moving the stock. Seattle Genetics, which we talk about on here. Obviously, they had big news earlier in the week where they got the $1 billion investment from.
I sold off right after it ran up like crazy. I could at like 173. I had to.
So they're on the move again this morning because their phase 3 study apparently had really good results, improved results from last time. So that's a cancer company, and they have cancer treatments. So they're trading up almost $2 pre-market. That'll be an interesting one to follow. Zillow Group continues to inch higher. The other thing that was interesting, and this is probably more fluff than anything, but I saw reports this morning that the United States was going to ban TikTok and WeChat starting Sunday, but only for new downloads. So if you already have it downloaded, I think you're fine. But if you don't, then you're not going to be able to download it, which is why I don't necessarily look at that as much. But
aren't they going to just do a separate IPO for ByteDance here now or something? I read something about they're just going to go public in the U.S. as like an independent under Oracle and whatever's going on.
I haven't heard anything about that.
This whole thing is still so murky to me because, I even saw Trump say that Microsoft is still in the mix yesterday. I don't know what that means because Microsoft said they're not in it.
I heard Lodell's in the mix. Like you might as well throw anything in this thing. I don't understand. I don't think the people even acquiring these guys have any idea what's going on.
So we'll have to see how that all plays out.
And then another stock that's again on the move this morning. I don't even know if there's anything new or if it continues to just be the same news, but Kodak. I mean, this is a stock I've just been watching headlines, but yeah, every day they seem to be moving with massive amount of volume. Dad, any
I haven't
thoughts on
touched that brand since that camera days.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, at this point, they must have invented a new camera for this stock to go up.
Seriously.
I mean, the story is so ridiculous that somebody, I would guess, a hedge fund, hired a law firm to come out and say they looked at Kodak's actions on their stock purchases and options and said they were legit. So the figuring is they're still going to get that contract from the government. And the contract is just to borrow money so they can start I don't know if it's a vaccine distribution or a factory, but the point is the stock is up 5 times from where it was, and they don't even have anything yet. So I don't get it.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird story. Stocks moving around a lot, good trading opportunities.
The NTSB came out and going to Boeing for a minute and said they were impressed with the work that Boeing's done on the 737 MAX. That's a pretty good nod to get the FAA to back them and get this plane back on the road to flying. So
Yeah.
that stock has 2 days in a row looked like it was going, through the floor and then turned around suddenly, and it closed up yesterday after being down 6. And the day before it was down a couple and closed up a few. So,
I also saw that AirSale agreed to acquire 24 Boeing engines that are out of New Mexico this morning.
Boeing engines?
Yeah, like that popped up about 30 minutes ago. That AirSale agrees to acquire 24 Boeing 757-200 passenger aircraft and spare engines stored in Roswell, Mexico.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's going to be something to look at. They're down a little. I mean, they're basically flat right now on the day. But
yeah, and I also think Amazon it looks like they're eventually just competing with UPS and FedEx. So they're going to be ordering more planes as time goes on. It seems like you almost have to look at them as a successful airline.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So,
and how about Vuzi? Quite the day yesterday.
Yeah, Vuzi had a great day yesterday, and it held up. This is one of the few days that it didn't go up and come back down. So that's one to watch. Again, those are the smart glasses that Vuzi makes. It's Vuzix Corporation, VUZI.
Yeah, I feel like I've been on the sidelines with this one, and anytime I see a dip, I'm like, oh, let me get around to buying that today, and I never do. CAR, another one, CARR. I mean, I think, Dad, you also brought up yesterday, I think it was you, and I think at some point investors need to take note of this. It seems like some of these big technology companies are starting to make lower lows, and even though other companies in the market aren't,
look, there's a good chance they could be down 20% from the highs before people start dipping in a serious way. And meanwhile, there's a whole bunch of other companies that are fairly, reasonably valued that the money's pouring into. So,
well, Dad, did you see the hedge fund guy that came on CNBC yesterday and basically said how he's positioned for the NASDAQ to drop another 20%? And then he brought up some stocks that he likes, and one of the ones that he said was the Mosaic company, like MOS.
Yeah, Mosaic is acting great. It's almost up to 20 today.
Ticker's MOS for our viewers out there. I've never owned the stock, but Dad, you've been talking about this for a while now, and all it does is go higher, especially.
Yeah, this stock, once it catches on, it acts like a tech stock. If you look back at a weekly chart of Mosaic, this thing was 37 back in 2019. So
is today a good day to jump on that, you think?
Well, it's moved up now in the last few days from 18 to 20. So it looks to me like it can get its way back up to 22 and a half.
Mm.
I mean,
I was telling Dan, I made a lot of moves yesterday with getting into positions that are not the norm for me, but CVS is one that I went hard on yesterday at under $58. Kramer brought up an interesting point with how well that Aetna partnership's going behind closed doors, and they've been trading so cheap in a way that they should be categorized differently soon, which they will. And I wanted to get ahead of this narrative because healthcare delivery, CVS is going to be at front and center of. If things go well there, I could see them being acquired by an Amazon or a Walmart. They have just so many great synergies, and their front of store is not even doing poorly. So I'm a huge fan there. I also bought some Pepsi yesterday at 132, which I've never owned before, but I like the charts. It seemed like a good entry point with what's going on in the world right now. And bought some more Bristol Myers as well.
Nice. Yeah. CVS, the chart's interesting. That stock's not almost, it's 10% higher, but it's not much higher than where it was in its lows in March.
Yeah, exactly. And they are up to some great things. It's been beaten down, and I don't think it's merited. I think they're.
Is Walgreens eating their lunch? Is that what's going on?
No, definitely not.
No?
Or Rite Aid, maybe. I mean,
no one's eating their lunch except themselves. I think these guys are in the position, a driver's seat. Then no one talks about that Aetna partnership, that deal they made a while back. It's starting to really pop off, and I'm sure the street will start picking up on it soon. What
exactly is the deal with that partnership?
Well, they own Aetna.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So at the end of the day, that the writing's on the wall with where we're heading with healthcare delivery. I know we've talked on air about teledoc and these, remote doctor visits. It's just where we're heading. We're in the delivery space with food. Maybe we could evolve in pharmaceutical at some point too. Who knows? But this is coming. There's no doubt this pandemic has expedited healthcare delivery, and CVS is going to be in the driver's seat with that.
I like it. Makes sense. I know you've been big on them for a while. A new shop there too.
I bought more Disney too yesterday under 130. Couldn't really help myself. I think they're,
yeah,
it's hard to not like them. And I got in and out of Match. I'll be getting back in them again.
Nice. All kinds of moves you made yesterday. I didn't really do anything yesterday except I was just playing the market a little. I crushed Dave & Buster's on the way down with the short. Maybe we'll crush it back on the way up. Let's get a quick touch here on the futures. They seem like they're going to be up a little. I mean, it seems like tech's taking over again, up 62 points, almost 0.5%, and everything else seems to be flat. VIX seems to be flat. Europe down a little. I mean, Dad, is there anything you're looking out for today? I know today's an option expiration day.
Yeah, I think 3366 area is really important. That was the high made yesterday, 3365.61.
I could see today being kind of a boring close, like not really up or down much.
Going back down, I mean, this market held like 3320. 1, 2, 3, 4 times yesterday. I mean, it got down a little bit lower, but it seemed to be bouncing hard off those levels. So if it can hold up here, and you could have a nice up day, but who knows?
And another thing here, this is a stock that I like to trade. I've traded it a lot actually in the last couple of weeks, but NIL, which is another one of these electric vehicle companies, kind of more of a China play. They're trading at 1973, and they're moving a little bit pre-market here. They always trade on a lot of volume. They announced Nextev has entered into a share transfer agreement with investor Jin Heng, and they'll be taking an 8.6 interest stake in NIO Holdings. So NIO, Dad, I know you always kind of call them the poor man's Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there are poor man Teslas out there.
Yeah, this stock's always fun because it moves in 20-cent moves very, very rapidly throughout the day, and you can kind of scalp in and out of it. So that's going to be an interesting stock to follow. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Oracle just with this TikTok news because they've been kind of bouncing all over the place with people thinking they're getting TikTok, then hearing that they're not getting TikTok.
Can we talk about Oracle for a second just as is it minus this TikTok deal? What's going on with them? Because they haven't really been on the radar in a while. I know they're a behemoth. Is that a stock worth getting in regardless here?
I don't know too much about them. I know they're a cloud data play, and there's obviously a lot of companies in that space. I think Dad made up a good point yesterday, and that's that with this new Snowflake IPO, it seems like all of tech is under pressure. And I don't know if we're going to just see a rotation where tech kind of gets revalued as people realize that there's a lot of companies that are coming public that are going to need to be in portfolios. And I don't know what that's going to look like. So I don't know. Dad, what do you think?
Well, everyone has a lot of faith in Larry Ellison, and
for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, if you could pick up that Oracle 57.85-ish to 58, that would be nice. But it's a really nice chart.
Yeah, it's hard to not like it heading into this deal. I do like betting on people in the world, and Larry Ellison is hard to bet against with his track record. And I don't see what the real downside is bringing TikTok into the mix with the way they're structured as a database management play. They're already a software company. Clearly, they have top-level execs that are extremely intelligent that had something behind a rhyme and reason with this deal.
Yeah, but I actually think you have to look at Oracle as separate and ignore that deal because who knows what that actually ends up.
I don't necessarily agree with that. When you look at the subsidiaries of Oracle, when you actually look at the umbrella that they have and who's under Oracle, NetSuite, there's a few big brands that already are rolled up into that whole enterprise software product and cloud engineering. So it makes me way more understanding now of why they are bringing in TikTok.
Well, what are they going to actually own? Is it 20%? Is that it of TikTok? That's
I don't know what the actual amount is. I just think that they're seeing a lot of synergies with the management of the actual data that they're bringing in because they're already set up to do that with the security. So they might be able to roll out a new subscription model just off of that justification.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to follow what happens with all of that. There's no doubt about it. I think part of the reason TikTok wanted to go with Oracle over Microsoft and some of these other companies was they were going to be more in control of the data. And
I think security is the real reason Oracle is getting the bid here when you really break this down.
Yeah, I agree. And then, guys, we got another one of these SPAC companies again, which seems to be every day now, but PIC, which stands for Pivotal Investment Corporation. It's one of these
PIC.
Just PIC. It's a commercial vehicle electrification solution leader, and they're set to go public through a merger with Pivotal. And the deal is supposed to be about a $1 billion deal. Their stock is up about 18% pre-market, trading at $12.50. PIC, they're pretty big volume, over 4 million shares traded pre-market. And Carnival Cruise Lines, again, on the radar. They have their earnings next week, and they just announced that they're selling off 17% of their cruise ships. So, this company is still trying to set sail normal.
I think we are. We have Bob. We're sending one out to your place in Denver.
Who's buying cruise ships right now?
I mean, look, I think it's important to realize that anyone who got a cruise, they didn't get their money back. They got the trip postponed. So if you
they got a boat instead.
No, but I think you're talking about they're actually selling the ships.
Oh yeah, who knows? It doesn't.
Yeah, what's actually being done with that?
I mean, look, I'm sure there's going to be people interested in buying them. I don't.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what some of these innovators do with an abandoned ship that they're clearly having another agenda with that has nothing to do with a cruise. That's what I'm starting to think. Like, what are we going to have some sort of storage that's just on the water for people for
Really
I've been
expensive
thinking
for
of?
a storage unit.
What, Dad?
It's pretty expensive for a storage
Well, the
unit.
way you look at storage units these days, but that doesn't mean that's changing, because I've heard a lot of stuff about storage being shifted, the way it's actually done.
Yeah, I mean, could happen. The last two stocks on my radar this morning are really Facebook and Snap, because anytime there's any doubt of this TikTok deal happening or signs of them possibly getting banned, you naturally see pops in those stocks.
Which is comical, because I get it with Snapchat to an extent. Facebook, I bought more Facebook, as you guys know, a couple days ago, maybe a day prematurely. But anytime that stock sells off a lot, for our viewers, just get on there. I know a couple of people that work high up at Facebook, that what they're rolling out in the next couple of years is going to be world changing, that no one has any idea about right now. And they've spent so much money on augmented reality, where that's heading, VR as well as video, just the whole package. So I'm very excited for Facebook's future here. I know they get in these headwinds politically a lot, but they're set up.
Yeah, and to add to that, they actually just announced, I think yesterday, that they just released a VR headset that I think they're selling for $200 a piece. So, I know, look, VR is going to be a thing in the future.
It is. We've talked about it for a while, Dan. Entertainment's been in a holding pattern. When we think about people need new ways to be entertained. Boredom's a phenomenon never really existed in previous generations. It's a great thing, but humans haven't evolved to do well with boredom. This is going to help with that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think virtual reality has a bright future, and I don't know when it's going to really take over, but yeah, man,
it'll be subtle. We'll just start noticing little things popping up.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, that's all I got this morning. For me, all eyes on all these stocks we've been talking about. Really going to be watching Penn and DraftKings again.
Another one to look at is a real old-time stock, United States Steel. Symbol is X. And if you look at this chart, this might be one of the names that starts to get some traction.
I'm going to buy some then, Dad, this morning. I like the symbol X. That sounds like it's going to make me a lot of money.
The stock had a huge day yesterday. And in the same category in a way, but a different company, is GE.
Yeah, I'd rather get X.
Yeah.
GE is not.
GE's chart looks identical. It's had an unbelievable move in the last 2 days. So if they are going to start going to these other names, these are two that are probably going to be bought.
Interesting.
Larry Culp, who runs GE now, was at a conference a couple of days ago and sounded pretty bullish.
So X, what do you see that getting up to? X marks the spot.
Yeah, I mean, the first stop would probably be 10 if you're, looking for.
Oh, so I should be throwing the kitchen sink at this thing.
No.
Dad, anytime you say that, these 8 to 10s, they usually pop hard, and I'm always annoyed I didn't buy like 10X of it.
Well, I don't own any, so
So that's when I know I have to buy even more, because that's
on my list.
Yeah. Let's see Vuzi go up to the moon. Mark Roberts. There we go, finally.
And Rocket had an interesting day yesterday. It's been acting like death. And yesterday it actually looked like it had a pulse.
Well, they had that Challenger show come up on Netflix. If you guys saw it, pretty good show about the Challenger disaster. I wonder if that helped just, bring that to the forefront.
Why would that have anything to do with Rocket?
Just the topic of flying. It kind of is in front and center with people. That was a hell of a show, by the way. I didn't know a lot about that.
Rocket is a mortgage company.
Yeah, that's Rocket Mortgages.
No, I know the name Rocket, though. Ship, Challenger, it's all the same wheelhouse when you think of space.
Yeah, that was quite a spectacular crash, and horrible. I
It
remember.
never should have happened, that launch. That was ridiculous.
And Mike, what's it called on Netflix? I don't know.
Challenger. You'll see it on that. It's wild. I didn't even realize they like chose a teacher randomly that wasn't even an astronaut to
Right.
go on that. And they never should have launched. They basically forced it through, and that's why it blew up.
Well,
Real quick before we exit off here, Dad, what do you think Dave Buster's going to do today? Like, is this another?
It's going bankrupt, Dan.
well, no, it may not go bankrupt, but I
I'm
think
kind of thinking it's not. And yesterday's sell-off was just not even warranted.
Maybe they're owning some VR stuff. They need to get into that whole universe for these
I
people.
think if you try to put a short out like 15, 20, I think you could put a short out here,
Yeah, me too.
a close stop, maybe 15, I don't know, let's see here, 16.
I mean, if somehow this just ends up turning negative again, it could be just such a big play if you get on this right.
Quick stop to 14 on the downside.
I don't know if
It's 9 o'clock.
my buddy just texted me, Mike, and was like, I bought Rocket Mortgage yesterday because I watched a Netflix documentary about the Challenger space rocket. I think he's kidding.
I don't think he's kidding. I know how humans think, Dan. I'm very good with psychological sentiment because, most people they gravitate towards headlines.
Similar to Snowflake, Rocket's got a lot of investors that are stuck in it that are going to look to get out when it gets
Off the name. I'm telling you, people are name driven. It's very important for some reason to a lot of people. So let's make some money. It's 9:01. Maybe one of these days we have to do a Rolland Mashup 24-hour marathon to help.
I would love to do live stream trading on here for the first hour when the market's open.
Well, when we start our subscription model, we'll start doing that. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
for our viewers, we're definitely toying with it. Something's brewing. So this has been a phenomenal start. We're going to take this to another level, though. And I've had so many people texting me for stock advice, and I'm no expert at all. I'm learning.
Yesterday, what I said was going to happen happened to it too. The market opened, there was a flush out, then you had a rally, then you re-shorted the rally, and then it flushed again, and it just kind of did that all day. So this morning, DraftKings, it's going to open, it's going to flush out.
There goes Penn, 75.
Unbelievable.
I can't wait to short that when I'm with Dan in person. He's gonna take me through the whole short game. I'm gonna beat who's that short king of the market? Gunlack?
I don't know. Shorting Penn is literally like stepping in front of a moving train.
Yeah, I'm good at stepping in front of moving things. What is that guy's name? Gunlack? The Bond King? He's like I want to be that dude out of nowhere. Where they're like, have you seen this Mike Rolland kid? He's the king.
All my biggest money-making trades have been from shorts, except when the Jordan DraftKings news happened. That was the only time I've had a long trade be bigger than a short-term short. So,
the time you make a lot of money in a long trade is a takeover, and I haven't seen one of those where I've been in one. And
SSNI was a good one.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Well, let's get Peter Tashman on the horn. What's the next one?
I've been holding CLLS for a decade, waiting for that takeover.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys.